This is Chicago's very own WGN Midday News.
The crucial first debate to help you leave the country.
You're watching Chicago's very own WGN News with Steve Sanders, Dina Bair, and Tom Skilling. This is WGN Midday News.
Right, they're all here.
Just ahead, if you've ever had the urge to drop everything and travel the world, it may not be as difficult or as expensive as you think. We're getting tips on how to get up and go.
Also coming up, Illinois families can enroll in the state's prepaid college tuition.
Kind of a loaded question, I guess, but how would you like to take a break from your job and travel the world? And you think, I can't do this. Well, it is easier and cheaper than you'd think. World traveler Lisa Lubin is participating in the nationwide Meet, Plan, Go event that shows people how to drop the daily grind and just start a new adventure. And I looked at this and went, oh, come on, you can't do this. But you did it.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing it.
Okay, how?
Like a lot of people, I was the same way. About 6 years ago, it was just a dream. I loved traveling, never thought I could do it. And then I kept reading more things about other people doing it, and I realized I had a little window of opportunity. I saved money, and I realized I could do this, and it's not as expensive as you think, because it's not a vacation, it's your life.
Right.
You're not paying a mortgage at home anymore. You're not paying bills at home anymore. So that's all done. You're just paying the money on the road.
All right, so let's talk about that. A friend of ours is doing this, and that's exactly my first question was, how can you afford it? And one of the things that you say is sort of eliminate all of the bills at home. So that may mean you don't have a house to come home to, or, you know, but
right.
You get to travel the world.
Right. I actually sold a condo in Chicago. I sold my car. I sold a lot of my stuff. I got rid of my cell phone because I wasn't going to be using some international plan and paying all this money. I actually did have another condo here that I didn't sell, but I rented it out. So worst case scenario, I had a place if I needed it.
Right, but then you're still getting some income from it.
And I'm back, and I'm not even living in it because I can't afford to. My renters, it's better to have renters than to live in it. So I have a smaller apartment. I still don't have a car. I've learned to cut back all of these things that aren't necessary. So it's even before you go, we live in this mentality of like, we need the latest iPhone. We need, and there's a lot of things that you can, if you really want this, obviously, if it's something you want, you can cut back on a lot of unnecessary bills to start to save money and put it toward travel if that's your dream.
It sounds amazingly freeing, really. And so you're talking about not just cutting down the expenses while you're gone, but you say you gave up your phone. What were some other ways that you were able to cut down expenses during your travel? Because it seems expensive to go to a lot of really exotic places.
Right, and I think, you know, that's another mentality. Again, it's not a vacation, so one thing is you go to places that are much cheaper than Chicago. I spent much less money on my travels for 2 years than I would have if I lived 2 years in Chicago. I was in Southeast Asia. I was in Latin America. I would stop in a place and stay a while. So it's cheaper to rent an apartment rather than being in hotels. There's ways to save money by using sites like Airbnb.com, and you can stay in people's homes, and it's cheaper than a hotel. And then plus you're meeting locals, which is really, to me, what traveling's all about.
Right, and you really get to know the culture and you get to experience it. And so while they might not be your typical vacation destinations, you went to unbelievably exotic places.
And I still did. I mean, I still was in Australia, but I ended up working in a cafe, and I sold coffee. But I was able to break even there, so I wasn't actually spending any money. I was making money, and that went toward my hotel or my, you know, slightly cheaper accommodation. And then maybe I would go for a week in Thailand on a beach and spend a little more to take a vacation from my travels, and then I'd go back to, so I kind of, you know, I wasn't, you know, just backpacking and staying in hostels. I kind of did you can do a little bit of both to keep, because I had some savings from working. And so it doesn't have to be, it's not all maybe what people think, that it has to just be bare bones, and it's not all luxurious, but it's wonderful. And a friend of mine just said, no one ever came back from like a long-term trip and said, I wish I'd never traveled.
Right.
It's hard to think about it before you go, but once you go, it's really the best thing you can ever do.
I could talk to you about this for hours, and I know you have an event where people can talk to you about it further. So if you could go to meetplango.com for more information, and there's an event October 16th. You can also go to llworldtour.com. It sounds fascinating and wonderful, and you know we'd all have to try to take advantage at some point. If you want to hear some of the tips again or find out more information, we'll link you to that website from ours, WGN-TV.com/midday. And coming up next, Hugh Laurie reminisces about his series House with Dean in the Midday Buzz.